Hello, and welcome to the League of Women Voters of Dearborn Heights Candidate Forum for the August 3rd primary election. This is the forum for candidates running for the office of mayor of the city of Dearborn. My name is Jennifer Oliver, and I am the president of the local league. This program is presented and produced as a public service by the League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan national organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government. The League never supports or opposes candidates or political parties. Membership is open to everyone aged 16 years or older. Following next month's election, 2 candidates will proceed to the general election in November. For written information about the candidates, please visit the League's online voter guide at vote411.org or download a printable copy of the League's voter guide from our website, www.lwvddh.org. Print copies of the voter guide are also available at the clerk's office and libraries. Normally, we would hold a live public forum. However, due to the ever-changing restrictions related to the COVID-19 pandemic, tonight's forum is being held virtually. We and the candidates are interacting tonight through the Zoom platform, and the recording that you are watching has been released in its entirety. We encourage every eligible voter to inform themselves and vote on August 3rd. Although all local precincts will be open on election day, please contact the city clerk's office for an absentee ballot if you prefer to use that option. Now, I am delighted to introduce the moderator of tonight's forum, Paula Bowman, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Michigan. Paula?
Thanks, Jennifer. Today is Tuesday, July 13th, and we're recording this program in its entirety via the Zoom platform. As always, the League of Women Voters is not responsible for the views expressed by the candidates. The candidates have agreed to the following plans. Each candidate will have a 1-minute time period to make an opening statement, and this will be done in alphabetical order. Thereafter, the order in which candidates respond to questions will be rotated. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question unless otherwise indicated. We will end with each candidate having 2 minutes to make a final statement, and this will also be done in alphabetical order. The timekeeper is a league member and will raise a card and say stop to notify the candidate when their time expires. The questions include both those developed by the league and those solicited from the community prior to the forum. All questions have been screened to prevent duplication and personal attacks and to ensure that questions address all of the candidates. Time will not allow for all of the questions to be asked, and we encourage you, the viewers, to contact the candidates directly if your question is not answered. Contact information for all of the candidates is available online at vote411.org. 7 candidates will be on the August 3rd primary election ballot for the office of the mayor of the city of Dearborn. You may vote for 1 candidate in this race. Their names in alphabetical order are Hussein Berry, Susan Dabaja, Abdullah Hammoud, Jim Parrelly, Thomas Tafelski, Kalette Shari Willis, and Gary Woronchak. I'm sorry to say that Ms. Willis was not able to be with us tonight, so after the 6 candidates who are here make their opening statements, I will read a short statement provided by her. Let's go ahead and begin with the 1-minute opening statement. Mr. Berry, if you could start, please.
Yes, thank you. My name is Hussein Berry, and my story is a Dearborn story. I am a son of the South End, a proud father, a trustee of the school board, and a businessman of more than 30 years. I am here with a very simple message. Don't give up on Dearborn. With the right leadership, our best days are still to come. Yes, we've lost a lot. We've lost our pools. We've lost our libraries. We've lost City Hall, and we've lost our things in the flood. But this is Dearborn. We can overcome anything when we come together. And that's why I'm running. Now, more than ever, we need responsible change. I am asking for your vote on August 3rd for mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Ms. Dabaja, your opening statement?
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for having me. My name is Susan Dabaja, and I've been a Dearborn resident my whole life. I graduated from Edsel Ford High School, went to University of Michigan, Dearborn, and graduated top of my class at U of D Mercy Law School. I am an attorney, a wife, and a mother. My children all grew up in Dearborn and attended Maya School, Divine Child High School, and now my son is soon to be a sophomore at Dearborn Public Schools. I've been your city council president for over 7 years, and now I'm running to be your next mayor. I know we as a community are going through a lot. We spent 1.5 years in lockdown. We had a catastrophic weather event, and on top of that, today's politics are harder than ever. I've had to fight against grain my whole life, whether it was being a trial attorney in a world that did not always accept women lawyers, managing the clouds at council meetings, or coming home at the end of the day to be with my family. I know what it's like to make it through difficult times, and I feel what so many people in this room are feeling. No one has had to lead more during this campaign than me, and I can tell you right now, there are so many people trying to divide our community. The one thing I hope that you take away from today is that I'm here to bring people together, to be unified, to be one Dearborn, because the only way we'll get through this and get this done is together. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hammoud?
Thank you so much. My name is Abdullah Hammoud. The aftermath of the catastrophic flooding was devastating, physically, emotionally, and financially. Families are still working to remove the mold from their basements and find the dollars they need to replace their water tanks and furnaces. This is but one of the struggles that working families face all across our city. We need a mayor who is not afraid to fight for working families. And that's exactly what I have done for the last 5 years as Dearborn State Representative. When AK Steel sought to outsource good paying union jobs, we rallied to stop them and demanded they roll back their decision, and they did. When we hit a roadblock in Lansing to improve our air quality, we never let that stop us. I delivered to City Council a local solution, the blueprints to the city's first ever environmental ordinance, a version of which was adopted. And when the flooding swept through our neighborhoods, I never wasted time pointing fingers. I put on my work boots, assembled a team, and went door to door helping those in need. That is why I am running for mayor, to continue to make progress and tackle the issues impacting our working families, to bring bold and trusted leadership to the city, and to get things done. I hope to earn your vote on August 3rd.
Thank you. Mr. Parrelly?
Good evening, Jim Parrelly. My grandparents came to Dearborn over 100 years ago. My wife Denise's parents immigrated from Italy in the 1950s. My grandfather started in the South End working for Ford for $5 a day. My father was a Ford machinist, and my mother worked in the cafeteria at Woodworth School for 40 years. Denise and I met at Fortson High. Fast forward, we've been married for almost 40 years. We've raised 2 sons who attended Divine Child, and now we have 3 beautiful grandchildren with a 4th on the way. I've been in business for 40 years. Our taxes are too high, and the post-pandemic world is going to present a number of challenges. I have the experience, the energy, and the temperament to manage our finances, lower our taxes, protect public safety, and attract new business, all while keeping the wonderful services we cherish here in Dearborn. Our diversity is our greatest strength. Our campaign has spent significant time in all parts of the city. We are in one big family here in Dearborn.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Parrelly.
if we see ourselves as that, we could achieve anything.
Thank you. Thank you. Your 1 minute is up. Mr. Tafelski, your opening statement?
Yeah, my name's Tom Tafelski, and I'm a longtime Dearborn resident. I'm running for mayor of Dearborn because I love this hometown that we call Dearborn, Michigan. I was born and raised here, product of the Dearborn Public Schools, grew up in the Ford Woods area, went to Maples Elementary and then Fortson High School, and then went on to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor and graduated from Ann Arbor. When I came home, I met my wife, ex-wife here, children's mother, who is a product of Dearborn Public Schools as well, and a crosstown rival, Edsel Ford. We had 3 beautiful children, and we've co-parented them and put them all through the Dearborn Public Schools, kindergarten through 12th grade, and they will soon become graduates of Dearborn High. Some already graduated and went off to rival schools like Michigan State for their father and Central Michigan for me. I love Dearborn, and I feel Dearborn, it's time that we have true leadership that are experienced leadership here in the city of Dearborn. So on August 3rd, I'm hoping that the voters go to the polls and they vote for me, somebody with almost 2 decades of experience inside City Hall, which is what's going to matter. My name is Tom Tafelski, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Woronchak? Oh, you're muted. Whoop, still muted.
And I've used up my minutes, so thank you.
No. Go ahead
Okay.
and start over.
I was under the impression you were going to unmute us each as we were talking.
Oh, no.
Anyway, I'll start over. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for its devotion to voter education and for this opportunity to discuss issues related to this important election. My name is Gary Woronchak, and I'm running for mayor because I love this city, and I believe that Dearborn would be best served by a mayor with my experience, background, and proven record of service and accomplishments. I have served Dearborn in the State House of Representatives and on the Wayne County Commission for a total of 20 years of holding elected office and being entrusted by voters to look after Dearborn's best interests. Before holding public office, I was the editor of the Dearborn Press and Guide for many years, so I have a long-term perspective on our community and the issues that have shaped it. My background as a journalist has fit well with my service in public office and is a driving force in my determination to make Dearborn city government more transparent, accountable, and inclusive. I look forward to tonight's discussion.
Thank you. I'm now going to read the statement from our absent candidate, Kalette Shari Willis. These are her words. We have to be the change that we want to see in the world. The moderator is reading this statement from me because I've broken a barrier. Like a true trailblazer, I am the first African-American woman to run for mayor of Dearborn, and I will not be the last. On a platform of integrity, creativity, inclusion, and excellence, I represent the millennial generation and all of the greatness that we have to offer our communities. This is a critical election. We're fighting against COVID-19, racism, voter suppression, climate change, and more. We need a leader that is for the people, and I am ready to serve. My name is only on that ballot because there are people that live in our city that believe in my vision of a brighter tomorrow, and I would like to thank all of my supporters. Although I'm unable to participate in this forum, I send my regards to each candidate. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters of Dearborn and Dearborn Heights for their work. This is immeasurable value in educating, organizing, and encouraging voters. LWV is what democracy looks like. Have a great forum. Okay, we're going to start with the questions now. Ms. Dabaja, you will get you will respond to this question first. And just a reminder that you will each have 1 minute. The question is, can you briefly outline what you hope to accomplish in the first 100 days of your term? What specific talents would you like to recruit for your team?
Within the first 100 days, what I like to do is first build a diverse team, a robust team, a team really reflective of the talent that we have within the city of Dearborn. I'm going to also tackle assessing our budget needs, especially post-pandemic. What's really important is that we evaluate each department on its own, figure out, assess the day-to-day needs of the departments and and the appropriate allocation of the American Rescue Plan dollars that we have. The other thing that I'd like to really channel immediately is the use of technology to help streamline our services and the way we conduct business. In terms of what kind of talent I'm looking for people to lead each individual department within my administration that are energetic, that have the educational and expertise and the experience to do so robustly, passionately, and really care about what we have to offer Dearborn. So my plan is to put in place something that really takes into account all of Dearborn.
Thank you, Ms. Dabaja. Mr. Hammoud, your response?
Thank you so much for that question. We are not going to wait until January to begin work. Immediately the day following the election, if we are successful, we're going to get started by building a transition team with this community. I am not going to determine the directors by myself or my chief of staff. We're going to do things differently. We're going to put the power and serve with this community. So we're going to appoint a transition team that is made up of members within this community, a diverse body that will help me identify, recruit, and recommend for hire the various directors in the city, because no single person can move the city forward. Rather, it's going to take a collective team and a collective effort. And I think that's what we bring to the table different than others. The issues that we want to tackle, we have to tackle the rising property taxes. We have to tackle the speeding and reckless driving. We have to tackle the poor environmental quality and air quality in various parts of our city. And lastly, we have to begin the conversation about identifying why and how our crumbling infrastructure failed us and what we can do to make sure that a catastrophic flooding doesn't occur again throughout our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Parrelly?
Yes, the day I announced my candidacy in February, I said, if elected, I would assume it's a mandate for me to address, which I called our property taxes that were unsustainable long-term. I also said that in a post-pandemic world, municipalities, not only Dearborn, but municipalities across the entire state and the country will be dealing with issues that they've never dealt with before. So I will consider those two things a major mandate. Obviously, the flood recent days changed everything. And we'll be looking at that very, very closely and see exactly what went wrong and how we can prevent it from happening in the future. Also, I want to reassure our residents that when they voted for me to become their mayor, I'm the mayor of public safety. I'm the mayor that will make sure this community is sound, is safe, and all this reckless driving and things going on in our community will end the day I'm elected.
Thank you. Mr. Tafelski?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I thought you were doing three at a time.
Yep, sure. Can you briefly outline what you hope to accomplish in the first 100 days of your term? What specific talents would you like to recruit for your team?
So within the first one, sitting on the council for 16 years, I can tell you the first 100 days, we will get things done. Immediately, one of the biggest problems we hear is about the reckless driving and speeding. I will create a dedicated traffic enforcement unit that will patrol the neighborhoods and the surface streets. That can be done today. It could have been done years ago, but it hasn't been. So I will do that right away. Second thing, we will look at our building and safety department and our economic development department. We have high taxes in this town. That's no secret. One of the things, though, we need to do is create additional revenue streams. So we need to make sure that our economic development department is extremely robust. We send out people from the city to recruit and attract business. We take underutilized and undervalued assets that are out there in the city of Dearborn, and we make sure that they get filled. We also look to our corporate partners and our industrial partners and make sure that they keep employees coming back to the city of Dearborn.
Thank you. Mr. Woronchak?
Well, in the first 100 days, we're going to come in first thing, and we're going to do a top to bottom, corner to corner review of all of the practices and operations that we've been using at the city, because we need a set of fresh eyes after so long of having the same administration and continuing previous administrations. We need to compare with other cities to see what they're doing to make sure that we're using best practices, and we need to have an eye on savings, but continue to emphasize service. So we'll take a fresh look at everything, and hopefully that will enable us to address some of the tax concerns that residents have. We're going to assemble a team that reflects the diversity of our community. We want to make sure that we begin a community conversation right away. And you're going to hear me speak of that a lot as we go through probably tonight and throughout the campaign, because I have this feeling that residents have not felt as connected to the community, to their city government as they should, and they need to be involved and know that they're a part of the decisions that need to be made as we're making difficult.
Thank you, Mr. Woronchak. Mr. Berry, your response?
Yes, I would get right to work. I would sit down with the directors, and if they're ready to see my mission and my vision, I would be okay with that. If not, I would make changes right away, and I'll find a very talented people with the relevant experience who are hardworking and ready to serve this community. My mission would be, obviously, I've put it out there, but addressing public safety concerns, revitalizing our downtowns, encouraging business development, maintaining city budget in a fiscally responsible manner, building on existing city services that support resident quality of life, encouraging civic pride, and working hard to make sure every Dearbornite can enjoy clean air, clean streets, and quiet nights. One area where I have already begun to solve the problem is with public safety. Since coming out with a strong message against racing and distracted driving, residents have noticed increased enforcement. Other candidates have followed my lead as well as discussing on this issue. My message was heard loud and clear, and this is what I will continue.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Before we start this next question, I just wanted to point out to the candidates that we're typing the questions in the chat. So about the fourth or the fifth person down the line, if you have forgotten what the question is, just refer to the chat and it should be right there.
Ms. Bowman,
Yes,
can we ask the timekeeper to maybe give a 10-second kind of, because there is no running clock on here. So, I mean, I'm trying to respect the 60-second time and don't want to go over, but if you're mid-thought, I think in fairness to all six of us, or we got six on here, it'd be nice to give us a kind of a 10-second, if that's possible.
Leslie, are you able to hold up a card when they have 10 seconds?
Thank
That'd be
you.
great.
That will help everyone, I think. So.
Okay, we'll start the second question. Even that is good.
Okay, anything, just we see this or you disappear and it's like mid-sentence. Thank you.
We'll start this next question with Mr. Hammoud. What lessons have you learned from the recent flood, and what actions will you take once in office to avoid or manage the next crisis?
Thank you so much for that question. I think the first foremost lesson that I learned was that the city does not have an emergency preparedness plan. At 3:30 in the morning, the night of the catastrophic flooding, I woke up to rain coming in through my window. I quickly ripped up my carpet, took out the padding, and I was one of the lucky homes, didn't have too much rain. But what I then did, turned to social media, and I saw that many homes and many residents were suffering all across our city. And so I launched the assistance form and I launched the volunteer form at 3:30 in the morning. By the time we woke up, just a few hours later in the day, we had over 300 homes signed up. And by the time that the city held their press conference at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I had 500 and 600 homes already signed up that needed assistance. We had a team of dedicated volunteers going out door to door, and we had started to make over 5,000 phone calls that day, reaching out to folks in need. That's the type of leadership that Dearborn deserves. And that's the type of leadership that we will bring to the helm of this city.
Thank you, Mr. Hammoud. Mr. Parrelly?
Well, the morning of the flood, I thought, how did this happen again? The CSO project was signed in 2007. This was now 14 years later. In 2014, we had another catastrophic flood. And I thought, how did this happen again? So clearly, Dearborn didn't have a preparedness program, but I think what we really ought to do is look at what decisions were made by the elected officials within this community as it relates to these issues. Under my leadership, we will do frequent evaluation and analysis of the stations that we rely on during these types of things. If they need more updating, we'll go and we'll do that. We'll bring in experts on green infrastructure. And most importantly, I feel badly for our residents more than anything, especially the ones that lost thousands and thousands of dollars, because they're going to be waiting many months.
Thank you.
To get their money from FEMA.
Thank you. Mr. Tafelski.
So the first thing that I've learned is, and with any good leader, is you need to be visible. Right now, our mayor is absent. The people that are running our city, chief of staff, DPW directors, other directors are the ones that are stepping up. They weren't elected, however. The mayor of the city of Dearborn was elected. The city of Dearborn does have SOPs, standard operating procedures, and an EMC, an emergency response center. We have these things that are in place, but in the absence of leadership, you have anarchy and chaos. And that's exactly what we had during those days following the flood. No one knew who was in charge. The mayor needs to be out there and be visible for his constituents or her constituents inside the city. The other thing we need to do is we need to look at, and I know people want to place blame on the elected officials, but we need to have a comprehensive review of NTH, Wade Trim, Barton Mallow, and find out from the Michigan Public Service Commission why are DTE and other utility lines failing. So we would make sure and champion that for the city of Dearborn to Lansing, as well as those contractors. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Woronchak?
Thank you. One of the things that I learned is something actually I already knew, is that Dearborn can come together in a crisis. The response was really something to behold when a lot of people were getting in there and helping people, and people were passing out supplies, and the city did step up and had a pretty good response. But rather than praise our flood response, I'd rather take a lesson and focus on flood prevention going forward. We really do need an independent third-party investigation of what occurred, even if it turns out that it was just this once in 500-year rain. Residents have the right to know from an independent investigator exactly what happened, and then we need to have a community conversation going forward to see how we deal with it, what changes we can make. And I'll guarantee you this: it may be next year when one of us takes office, but this will not be forgotten.
Mr. Berry?
Yes, thank you. In 2019, I sat down for a breakfast meeting with a civil engineer, and he told me this can happen. The opportunity is there. So I heard the city engineer say that this was done intentionally. That was part of the plan moving forward to hold the water above the roads. What I haven't heard from the engineer or anybody else from City Hall is, what are we going to do moving forward? Because the professionals are telling us this can and will happen again. So I didn't wait for investigation. I did my own investigation. I put a team together and we went right to work. I put a plan out, the Berry plan, I called it. It's on my website, onedearborn.com. Please visit that and read the plan. It's going to discuss and explain to you how our sewer system works. It's going to explain to you about the drainage and tell you what happened. So the Berry plan, I will develop a climate resilient infrastructure, green space and water absorption, and responsible housing development moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. Ms. Dabaja?
Thank you. So obviously the events that occurred were very devastating and was a crisis that our entire town was experiencing, mainly in the south and the east ends of our city. And in the times of crisis, people look for leadership. And I was that visible leader that took charge and did everything within my powers as the council president to help my fellow residents. I called for an emergency meeting, 3 a.m. I was sending an email asking for an emergency meeting the next morning. I called for funding, immediate funding for cleanup efforts so that we can help and assist our residents. I held a town hall. I held a resource distribution center where we gave thousands of toys to children that lost toys during the flooding, and as well as sanitation kits and fans and other items that people needed. In the time of crisis, people are looking for answers. People are looking for, a visible leader. People are looking for communication. What I did just that. I was very visible, very transparent, and I made sure that we called for an independent evaluation of our system. That's the next plan in action.
Thank you, Ms. Dabaja. This third question, we will start with Mr. Parrelly. What steps would you take to create an environment in Dearborn that encourages cultural, racial, and economic inclusivity, including affordable housing options?
Well, I have said all along in my campaign that diversity was one of Dearborn's greatest strengths. I'm one of the few candidates in this mayoral race that attracts support from all throughout our city. And so it's been a central part of my campaign. It's been a central part of my life, my family, my parents, my grandparents. We were all immigrants. So I absolutely understand this. And as far as bringing the community together, I think the most unique person in this race that has the capabilities to do that, because I attract support from every aspect of our community.
Thank you. Mr. Tafelski?
So the first thing we need to do is make sure all our neighborhoods are clean and safe. We say it on our police cars, but as you drive around the neighborhoods, that's not necessarily the case. We have to make sure that the zoning codes and the building codes are appropriately enforced, not to be heavy-handed, but to make sure that those people that are looking for clean and affordable housing actually get clean and affordable neighborhoods. Additionally, we have to make sure that the business districts that complement those neighborhoods service those individuals that are shopping there or people that come into the city of Dearborn. We want to make sure Dearborn is a welcoming community. We want to make sure Dearborn is a clean, safe community. And we want to make sure Dearborn is an affordable community. Affordable not only for people that start out as renters, but later decide, you know what, I want to raise my kids here and I want to live here and work here. So that's my goal, is to make sure that we are encompassing for all and that we are a great place to work, live, and most importantly, raise a family.
Thank you. Mr. Woronchak?
I believe too that our diversity is our strength, and I have a record of 20 years of public service in serving all aspects of Dearborn. I can guarantee you that I will be a mayor for all of Dearborn and try to bridge some of the gaps that we have in our community. We have divisions in our community still, geographic divisions, cultural divisions, and some leader has to bring people together through inclusivity, through education, through programs where people get to learn about each other and coexist on a more frequent basis. Again, my record shows that I have served well for 20 years. From our Arab American and Muslim community to our senior citizens, to the students in our schools, to neighborhoods all around town. And I will just conclude with, I will be a mayor for all of Dearborn.
Thank you. Mr. Berry?
So it is another good question, but you know what? I would just continue doing what I've been doing most of my life. If it's Little League football, if it's on the school board, if it's sponsoring, different events in the community, that's been my life for the last 40 years. Dearborn is a city rich in history, diversity, and other amenities. Our arts, cultural, and historical attractions are crucial to our future, and we need to emphasize that. Not only will I support efforts to promote our strength in these areas, I believe that they are the key to the future of our city. We need to stop shying away from who we are. Dearborn is a diverse city filled with wonderful people. We should be telling the whole world about it. And under my leadership, we will.
Thank you. Ms. Dabaja?
Thank you. I think one of the greatest strengths that we have here in Dearborn is the fact that we are such a diverse and unique city. We have so much to offer, but that story hasn't been told outside of Dearborn as much as I would like it to be told. I think we need to work with our partners, whether with other municipalities, throughout the county, to share the rich history of what Dearborn has to offer, to invite people in. I was part of a council that passed a resolution making Dearborn a welcoming city, regardless of your race or your background, who or where you come from. As a child of immigrant parents, as an Arab American Muslim woman, I recognize that sometimes people need to understand what Dearborn is about and need to feel comfortable living here and visiting here and living here. I would work with interfaith community, the interfaith community, nonprofits, and other organizations to find ways to educate people about the cultural diversity that we have here, the economic diversity we have here. I also do believe that we need to work on providing housing opportunities at all scales. As someone that was raised in public housing, I understand the importance of being raised in that and then now living where I'm a homeowner myself. So I want to be able to provide options for people that are looking to make Dearborn their home.
Thank you, Mr. Dabaja. Mr. Hammoud?
Thank you so much. I am the proud son of 2 immigrant parents, and I believe, like the rest of the candidates, that Dearborn is the greatest city to live. It's why we're all running to try to serve this city as its mayor. This is the place my wife and I want to grow our family, but we have to, if we want our children to stay and do the same, we have to tackle the issues that have been facing us for far too long. One of the opportunities that a mayor can do, and something that we will bring to City Hall, is build bridges and provide greater opportunities within the city for communities to come together. If there's anything I've noticed as we've canvassed from neighborhood to neighborhood, is that our city is still very much segregated. There are pockets of all Arab community, all Arab American neighborhoods, pockets of all white neighborhoods. And we have to do a better job of providing opportunities at the city for people to come and celebrate that diversity. That's something that we will bring to this administration. We want to make sure that we build an administration with a diverse transition team so that when you walk into City Hall, you feel represented and reflected in the people that are also serving you. That is something that we can also change. You know, in Lansing, we led the charge on trying to make Michigan a welcoming place. And that's the same thing that we will do at City Hall in the helm of our city. And lastly, I'll say, if you go to votehammoud.com/issues, we have the most thought out plans that encourage small businesses owners to invest in our city, for new families to choose our city, and for existing families to stay.
Thank you, Mr. Tafelski, or I'm sorry, Mr. Hammoud. Mr. Tafelski, we'll start
Yes.
this next question with you. How do your background and experience prepare you to support Dearborn's role as an ally and a partner in a more racially, ethnically, and economically diverse metropolitan Detroit area? So this is a little twist on the previous question. Now we're looking for your response to how you would support Dearborn's role as a member of the greater metro area.
So as a financial advisor, I travel all over. I work in 35 municipalities and school systems throughout the Tri-County area. And I work with all race, color, creeds of people. My parents were in public schools for 40 plus years. My father worked in Southfield as a counselor, coach, and educator, while my mother was here in Dearborn for 43 years. And I grew up in the east end of Dearborn, and I went to the school up in Ann Arbor called the University of Michigan, which has 40,000 students of all kinds of color, creed, and socioeconomic platforms or backgrounds. And learning from the life experiences that I've had, along with my years on Dearborn City Council, as well as my business acumen, I'm able to, bridge all areas of town, all areas of people coming into the city. And that's what I'll look to do. I'll look to make sure that Dearborn, like I've said before, is a welcoming city and a city that everybody can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Woronchak?
As a Wayne County Commissioner and as chairman of the Wayne County Commission, I had the opportunity to view the diversity of our great county, countywide. So I have a pretty good perspective on the region. As a Wayne County Commission chairman, I introduced the resolution that made Wayne County a welcoming county. We were the first county I introduced the resolution to support the campaign to take on hate. I have throughout my career, especially as a Wayne County Commissioner, been involved with promoting diversity and want to make Dearborn a welcoming community as well, and to make sure that everybody feels part of it, that nobody feels left out, and to leave that door open so that if somebody does feel that they're left out, that they have the ability to join the community conversation and make that known so we can make adjustments. And I look forward to doing that.
Thank you. Mr. Berry?
Yes, thank you. I'm not going to tell you what I would do. I'm going to tell you what I've been doing. I continue to do it. In 2008, I led my colleagues on the Dearborn Area Board of Realtors as their president. And there, I got a chance to work with other realtors on the other side of the state, found out what issues they have. They listened to me and what issues we had, and we worked together to solve the issues. Fast forward a few months, I was in Washington, D.C., speaking to realtors from all over the country. And that's when we were pushing for the Mortgage Forgiveness Act that George Bush signed. And I played a big role in that. On the Dearborn Public Schools, the first time I was on the board, I did a lot of listening. I had people like Joe Guido, Jim Schoolmaster, God bless her soul, Pam Adams. I learned so much from them, how to work together to accomplish common goals, what's in the best interest of our district and our students. So my 30 plus years of experience in leadership, strong leadership, will serve us well. Berry administration will serve us well in the mayor's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dabaja?
So I touched earlier on my background, obviously as an Arab American Muslim woman, and growing up in public housing and understanding what it means to start with very humble means and then be able to grow from that. So my personal experience obviously serves only to better understand what Dearborn needs and what residents are looking for. On a professional basis, I'm an attorney who has a law practice of 17 years in Dearborn. I've represented a lot of Dearborn families and understand their needs as well, and and their diverse and economic background, as well as racial and ethnicity background. I've also been a commissioner on CEMIA, the Commission of Middle Eastern American Affairs with the state, appointed by our governor for the 3rd time. So I've worked with individuals across our state that have a similar interest in making sure that their cities, as well as Dearborn, is welcoming to everybody, regardless of their background. And we work with other commissions of different ethnicities as well. I'm also the co-chair of the Dearborn Education Foundation, and working with the different PTAs and teachers and principals and administrations, you learn more about the makeup of our students, our children here in Dearborn.
Thank you. Mr. Hammoud?
Thank you so much. You know, I'm a proud product of Durham Public Schools, and I grew up as a young Muslim Arab American in the post 9/11 era, where Dearborn was that strong ally to myself and my family during those times when racism and bigotry was at an all-time high towards Muslim and Arab Americans. But this is our city. We're a city that comes together, that celebrates our diversity and finds ways to build bridges. In Lansing, that's what I've had to do for the last 5 years to get things done. You have to build bridges and allies across geographic, racial, and party lines. And that's how we've been successful in bringing down wins for the city of Dearborn. And most recently, the week of the flooding, I was able to go to Lansing and utilize those relationships that we built to secure $10 million in the budget in the House and get that passed out of the House and sent over to the Senate in order to assist municipalities impacted by the flooding. That's because of the work that we have done in building bridges and allies across racially, geographic, and ethnic lines. Our support and our work in support of small business earned me the recognition of Economic Development Champion in 2020, because we celebrate the small business owners throughout our city and provide them a level playing field in competing with the Fortune 500 companies across our state. And I think my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hammoud. Mr. Parrelly?
Yes, I've said before, and I'll keep saying it, diversity is our greatest strength in the city of Dearborn. Growing up in a blue-collar family with immigrant grandparents, my wife's family came here from Italy in 1950, lived on Hartwell Street for 58 years, and then spending 41 years in business, where I've had a lot of success, and I've done business with every race, color, and creed all across the country. And probably as important as anything, I bring the temperament to this position that allows me to attract support from all across this city, whether it's in the Iraqi, Yemeni, Lebanese community, or on the west side of the city of Dearborn, where I currently live. You know, I have that kind of attraction as a candidate for this job because of the temperament that I bring to the position.
Thank you. This next question, we are looking for only a 30-second response. And we'll start with Mr. Woronchak. Do you support revising the city charter? Why or why not?
I believe that I'm voting yes on the proposal to revise the city charter because it's been a while and we have some updating that the charter needs done. And that's why this question is in the charter, so the residents can have the opportunity to decide whether or not they want to revise it. The people are largely unaware of what a charter is, and I've been trying to educate people on the questions. So, but I do support the charter revision question.
Thank you. Mr. Berry?
Yes, I would support it. I think the residents should have the final say-so for the local governments. It's been a while since that was visited. I've always recommended that we visit our bylaws in any institution I work with, just so, just to keep up with the changes. So I think it would be a nice an educational process for our residents. Definitely will support it.
Thank you. Ms. Dabaja?
So I'm one of the members of council that voted in favor of placing this question on our ballot. And I did so because whether I think that it should be revised or not shouldn't be the sole decider on that issue. I think it's appropriate to bring it forward to the residents so that they have an opportunity to explore it, educate themselves on what's contained in there. It's a document that's over a decade old, and whether changes are going to be made is yet to be seen. And if they're necessary, then they should be made. But again, this is something that the voters of the city of Dearborn should make that decision. It shouldn't be made by a single body alone.
Thank you. Mr. Hammoud?
Thank you for the question. I will be voting in favor of revising the city charter. The city charter was written over a decade ago, and times have changed. And Dearborn needs to keep up with the times. And one way we can make those changes is through amending the city charter. So I do support revising our city charter.
Thank you. Mr. Parrelly?
Yes, I absolutely support the revision of the charter and appointing the people being elected to the board, so allow them to review it and let ultimately the community decide on the issues within the charter, but absolutely in support of revising it.
Thank you. And Mr. Tafelski?
So the city charter is reviewed every 12 years per the city charter. And at that point, the voters of Dearborn will decide whether or not it's reviewed. The charter works fantastic if there's leadership and the city's running well. Right now, the last few years, we've had no leadership, and that's part of the problem. I also believe that the times right now are extremely polarized. And I think one more issue that the city needs to face is probably not the charter at this point. But ultimately, it's up to the voters to decide whether the charter will be reviewed the 12th year of the charter revision period. Thank you.
Thank you. We're back to 1-minute responses. And Mr. Berry, we'll start this question with you. What is your view of the mayor's role in economic development?
I've been a businessman for most of my life. For over 30 years, I've been running my own business. I know budgets. Our current budget for the Dearborn Public Schools is pretty much almost 4 times the size of the budget of the city. So we need to encourage, we need to attract new business. People want to talk about taxes. We need to expand our tax base. And the only way to do this is to develop our downtowns, support our downtowns, and to attract new business.
Thank you. Ms. Dabaja?
I think as mayor, the very first thing you need to do is build a really robust and energetic ECD team. You need to appoint a director who has the experience and expertise to build that team along with me. I think what the mayor's involvement has to be demanding service for a plan that would actively recruit business into the city of Dearborn. No longer should we wait and say, hey, let's see what what businesses would be interested in Dearborn. We need to put forth a marketing plan for our vacant properties, the eyesores that we have, whether it's Fairlane or Village Plaza or others. And then we have to brand ourselves. And with our branding campaign, go outside of Dearborn, actively recruit, see what Dearborn, what would benefit Dearborn, what would serve Dearborn, what would survive in Dearborn. The other thing is we should work to eliminate the cumbersome process known as our permitting process within the city. We need to introduce technology so that doing business in Dearborn becomes easier and more streamlined and more friendly. And the last thing I will say is that we have to work with our small businesses for improvements such as street facade and others. I feel like my time is up. And
thank you. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Hammoud?
Thank you so much. The mayor has a primary role in the economic development team and economic development. And in my time in Lansing, I've been recognized as the economic development champion for my work in support of small businesses. The mayor builds the economic development team for the city of Dearborn, and our campaign is the only one to date with a clear vision and a clear plan for our economic recovery in the post-pandemic era at votehammoud.com/issues. We have a 5-part economic plan, and it deals with 1, providing greater technical assistance to small businesses, ensuring that our economic development team is providing the services that small businesses need and desire. 2, launching a small business incubator, ensuring we provide resources and support to entrepreneurs to fill up our vacant storefronts across our city. 3, recruit and retain businesses in the city of Dearborn. This means putting on our bulldog hat and going out there and finding anchor retail shops to bring to the city of Dearborn, to ask residents what types of businesses they would like to see, and then go out there and get them. 4, launch a fast pass permitting process, eliminating the bureaucratic tape that has been put in place over this last decade to make sure we have a permitting process that enhances our small business development. And 5, improving the operations of city managed facilities, making sure our economic development team works with the other directors across our city to make sure that our own facilities are managed well.
Thank you, Mr. Hammoud. Mr. Parrelly?
Well, the day that I'm elected, people will know the city of Dearborn is open for business. Nobody in this race comes to this opportunity with more experience and more business relationships across the country than I do. So we will get very active in terms of recruiting business to Dearborn. I've always said that the city of Dearborn and its location between a great airport and a major city under Renaissance is ripe for recruiting companies here. A lot of the candidates in this race, ever since I announced it in February, have been talking about technology accelerators. I've actually built one. So that would certainly be a part of a downtown area here in the city of Dearborn. But more importantly, and probably as important as anything, we have our largest taxpayer who is undergoing seismic change, and the Ford Motor Company. And it makes sense to me to have someone in the seat in the city hall that understands what they're dealing with and how I can help them to move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Tafelski?
So the mayor's role in economic development is to grow and foster economic development. The first thing you have to ask is, how can we help you? As the mayor of the city of Dearborn, that's probably the most important question for business owners. Money goes where money's appreciated. Businesses go where business is appreciated. We have to go out and make sure that our underutilized and undervalued assets are brought up to usable, taxable assets to help offset the residential tax burden. The other thing is we have to understand each business node within the city of Dearborn. We have the east and west shopping districts or downtown districts. We have the central district, which is the business center off of Ford Road, Michigan Avenue, and Southfield. We have the Dix Verner, the Warren Schaefer, and the Monroe and Outer Drive. We have to make sure that each business district and their needs are catered to. And as mayor of the city of Dearborn, I'll make sure we put somebody on the International Convention and Shopping Center to go after retailer at national and regional conventions and bring businesses back. But we have to ask businesses, how can we help you here in the city of Dearborn thrive and be successful?
Thank you. And Mr. Woronchak?
Thank you. The mayor's role in economic development goes beyond just appointing the economic development director and the team. The mayor needs to be personally involved. This is that important to pursue new businesses because vacant storefronts are not acceptable. And the larger, more visible vacancies like the Hyatt, the old Farmer Jack Kroger, the Village Plaza are symbols of stagnation that are just going to drag us down. Also, residents need to be made aware of what's going on with these things, so they're not wondering and spreading rumors and things. That's part of the community conversation that I've brought up before. So the mayor does have to have a very active and personal role in making those calls to the businesses, not just let the team do it.
Thank you. This coming up question will be our last. Ms. Dabaja, we'll start with you. What is your view on the quality of life in the city? How would you promote green practices, public health, and other services that improve quality of life for our residents?
So the first step would be to organize a group of people that can give you an idea of with different backgrounds, different expertise that can share in their thoughts and how can we make Dearborn a greener city? How can we make it more, how can we improve the quality of life? And with that team would then help me develop a survey that we can disseminate to the rest of the city and have our residents answer. We haven't had a city survey since 2016, and we need to learn what are the priorities that residents now today living in Dearborn are looking to see from their city government. I've recently met with some sustainability experts to find different ways that we can improve and create more greener space within our city, have greener practices within how we run our city. And also additionally, I think in terms of public health, I do feel like it would be beneficial for the city to work with and form a public-private partnership to offer a public health department. We lost it years ago, and during this year and a half.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Dabaja. Mr. Hammoud?
Thank you so much. As the only public health professional in this race, I put together a public health recovery plan on our website at bohammoud.com/issues. We have a 5-part plan. The first actually establishes a satellite campus of the Wayne County Public Health Department here in the city of Dearborn. It eliminates the bureaucracy and provides us an opportunity to access grant dollars to make available to Dearborn families. Second, we have to invest in Dearborn families from the onset, investing in mothers while pregnant, ensuring that young children and adolescents have the resources they need to live abundant lives. Third, we create a public health commission that includes public health experts and community partners and roundtables. We have the nonprofits here within the city of Dearborn, but we lack in communication. We can form a roundtable, have access to these experts, and make sure that Dearborn is a viable place to live where we're improving constantly the quality of life. Fourth, we launched a mental health crisis response program. Not only do we have to deal with COVID, but we have a large issue now with mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, substance and drug use dependency. So we need a mental health crisis response program that can help residents facing those issues.
Thank you, Mr.
And I'll stop
Hammoud.
there.
Thank you. Mr. Parrelly?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What is your view on the quality of life in the city? How would you promote green practices, public health, and other services that improve quality of life for residents?
My thinking is I've been here my entire life, and the quality of life in Dearborn is pretty darn good. Our residents enjoy a wonderful quality of life, many city services. Under my leadership, however, I would make sure that certain aspects of what I think is lacking would be addressed, such as I'd like to see more, even distribution of services and capabilities of our city in all aspects of our community. That would be important. Also, I think this flood also shows that, we need to obviously look closer at the green infrastructure issues and how that plays a role in trying to prevent this catastrophe from happening again.
Thank you. Mr. Tafelski? You're muted.
Sorry. So we have to work upon Dearborn's rich history and heritage. We need to promote the fact that Dearborn is family friendly. We want to promote our over 36 parks, tot lots, and neighborhood recreational activities. We also need to work with the county and the state, promoting some of those partnerships for recreation and green programs. I'd work with building and safety along with DTE to cut down and reduce and remove the red tape so that people who want to go green inside their homes can streamline the process and create green homes for the future, which, that's clearly the trend that's happening, especially when one of our largest employers and taxpayers, Ford Motor, is switching to an all-electric vehicle platform. Additionally, we want to expand green energy programs and green programs inside the city of Dearborn and their services that we provide. And then just make sure recreation and healthy living is available so that it's affordable for every resident inside the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Woronchak?
Thank you. I think we could work with Wayne County to get a better relationship with the public health department that they have and make sure that we're getting everything we can from them. The reason Dearborn no longer has a health department is that we were the only city outside of Detroit that had its own. Wayne County is responsible for a lot of the services, and we need to do a better job of making sure that they're delivering them and to making sure that our residents are aware of them. As far as being a green city, Dearborn has always done a pretty good job. We've been recognized as a Tree City USA. We've had a wonderful curbside recycling program, even as the market for recyclables has been drying up. And the CSO project that we're discussing so often has made a big difference in the quality of water at the Rouge River. Quality of life issues also include preserving our parks and pools and to deal with traffic concerns in the neighborhoods, because that's where quality of life is, in the neighborhoods.
Thank you. And Mr. Berry?
Excellent.
Yes, as a real estate broker in the area for 30 years, I know why people stay in Dearborn. I know why people move to Dearborn. Other than the schools, which you always hear, I'm a proud graduate of Dearborn Public Schools. I know what the other issues are. Berry administration will build on existing services to ensure residents have a better quality of service that they have come to expect. I will prioritize resident quality of life, work with Wayne County to build a satellite public health office. I will do my best to make navigating city government easy. I will also increase youth programs, recreation facilities, library service, and will protect our pools. Ensure that we continue to create inviting and green spaces. Now, we talk about quality of life. Not all of our residents gets to enjoy that. There are parts where it's lacking, and I will do everything possible to invite to tackle both noise and air pollution where it's happening, mostly in the south end of Dearborn.
Thank you. And now it's time for the candidates to wrap up and make a 2-minute closing statement. And Mr. Berry, we're beginning with you.
That's good timing.
It is.
Yes, Dearborn is at a turning point. This election may decide who we are for decades to come. You, the voters, get to choose that direction. I am fighting for safe, clean streets and quiet nights. I am fighting for healthy downtowns and a thriving business community. I am fighting for green spaces, clean air, and infrastructure that will protect our residents from future flash flooding. But deep down inside, we all know that something deeper is wrong. We've lost a lot over the last decade and a half. And it's not just our pools. It's the loss of togetherness. All throughout our city, we see people who are hungry. Yes, I said hungry. They're hungry for speed. They're hungry for more wealth. They're hungry for revenge. They're hungry for power. Where does this hunger come from? It comes from the void. It comes from the lack of leadership in our community. We need to come together. We need a strong mayor to restore Dearborn. We need experienced leadership and wisdom during this time of crisis. We need to become one Dearborn. Please visit my website at onedearborn.com if you want to see how I plan to do that. And I hope that I can count on your vote on August 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dabaja, your closing statement.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Forums like this play a critical role in elections so people can hear directly from the candidates about what they stand for. You've heard what I stand for, and in my time serving Dearborn, you've seen what I stand for. In times of crisis, I've shown up. I've been tested and tried, and you have seen how I am in each of these moments. There's no doubt that our community is struggling, and many people find themselves confused, not knowing where to turn or who to trust. I want everyone to know I am here for you. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that the work that needs to happen actually gets done, and not at the unnecessary expense of the taxpayers. When I become mayor, you can expect more efficiency and better city services for all residents. I will work to reduce red tape and streamline the commercial services process to help new businesses open and current businesses to continue to flourish. As we see crime on the rise, I will put a large emphasis on public safety and work to ensure that all who live and enter our city have positive, equitable, and fair interactions. I will improve walkability and our quality of life by enhancing our parks and trails, because mobility is the lifeline of our city and the key to keeping us connected. And together we're going to accomplish all these things by maintaining constant open lines of communication and effectively managing the budget to bring more of our county, state, and federal taxes back home. My vision for Dearborn is honest and real. My vision for Dearborn is based on transparency. My vision for Dearborn is unity. Now more than ever, we need someone that will bring the different parts of our city, whether you call it South, East, or West Ends, together as one community, one family, and one Dearborn. You can trust me to be the serious and passionate leader needed to take Dearborn into a prosperous, unified tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hammoud.
Thank you. In the aftermath of the flooding, my team and I helped clean the sewage and debris out of people's basements. I'll never forget this one resident, Miriam. 7.5 feet of sewage blanketed her whole basement and she had lost everything, including sentimental items that can never be replaced. This happened to her twice before, in 2014 and 2018, and she rebuilt. Now it has happened to her again and she's asking, should I rebuild or finally call it quits and move? Back in the 80s, after flooding in the north end of Taylor, government officials used a creative solution. They added retention basins and turned them into city-owned golf courses, which lessened the impact. After the flooding in 2014, Westland overhauled its ordinances to reduce grease in their drains and improve the maintenance of their lines by blasting jets of water to clear debris. Ann Arbor is building a detention basin the size of a football field to capture future rainwater and prevent flooding in its neighborhoods. And it offers storm credits to residents to construct rain gardens on their properties. In 2014, Dearborn flooded. And the question people are asking is, what did Dearborn do? It should have served as a wake-up call that climate change is real and Dearborn was not prepared. 100-year floods should happen just that every 100 years, not 4 or 5. The reality is our government did not protect our residents. When we examine the direction of our city over the last 10 years, we must ask, what has been done to improve the quality of life for working families? We have higher property taxes, although the city has closed community pools and libraries. We have higher water rates, but ongoing issues with flooding. We have a skyrocketing number of traffic incidents, and according to a census estimate, we have a decreasing population, all the signs of a struggling city. I'm running for mayor to tackle the real issues facing our working families with bold and innovative ideas. This is the city where my wife and I want to grow our family. But if we want our children to stay and do the same, we must have the political courage to tackle the tough issues. My name is Abdullah Hammoud, and I hope to earn your vote on August 3rd to be Dearborn's next mayor and tackle the tough issues that have faced us for far too long.
Thank you. Mr. Parrelly?
Thanks again to the League of Women Voters for organizing this important event. Like many of you, the last few weeks have made something very clear to me. Politics, as usual, is not working for Dearborn. Many of my opponents in this race, this is just another opportunity and election for them. If they would have won a prior election, they wouldn't be in this one. The credit, they love to take credit when things are going well, and none of them take the blame when things go bad. It's like accountability is a dirty word. What we need now in Dearborn is fresh energy, new ideas. I will bring innovation, technology, environmental awareness to the City Hall. My 40 years of experience in business has taught me you cannot pass the buck. What our residents will get with me is someone who listens, someone who has deep roots right here in this city, and someone who will always be accountable to them. My opponents say experience matters. Well, what has their experience done for you? Failed projects, overblown finances, and most importantly, a failure to take any responsibility for anything. They say experience matters as if government works in a top secret file in Fort Knox or something. Well, guess what? It's not. We all know that government works. What has failed is their approach. I will come to the table utilizing innovation, technology, and harness the talent in this great city. Diversity is our greatest asset, and I will ensure that our administration reflects that. My appointees will look exactly like our city, so we can serve everyone to the most effective ways. That's why I campaign all over our community. Some of my opponents have acted like you need a visa to cross the Southfield Freeway. I know it's my name on the ballot, but when you vote for me, you also get my wife too. She's knocked on many doors in this community. You've all taken her into your arms and seen her administering vaccines at the Civic Center all spring. With her love, support, and advice, you're getting a mayor who'll be ready to lead the city into the next chapter. You can only select one name August 3rd. And if you think the politicians running against me have made your life better in Dearborn,
your time
then
is
choose
up.
one of them. Otherwise, my name is Jim Parrelly.
Your time is up. Mr. Tafelski?
I'm running for Dearborn because I love this town. It's the hometown of Henry Ford, and it's the hometown of my family, and it has been for generations. Today in Dearborn, we need experienced leadership more than ever. You don't need somebody who puts their name on the ballot just because they want to see their name on the ballot. You need somebody who has leadership and is not afraid to say no when they did serve. And I was that person. For over 16 years, I served as council president pro tem, and council president. I also served on the City Beautiful Commission and the City Planning Commission. I've raised my children here in the city of Dearborn through the Dearborn Public Schools, and I've watched and listened to the residents as we've had good times. We had Dearborn homecomings, and we've had bad times, like the last flood. I touch every area of the city. I see people on the streets. As I said before, I have friends and relatives that are from the Etzel area. My mother taught in Salina, and I have friends that I met later on that my mother taught at Fortson. We rejoined at Fortson. The city of Dearborn is in transition right now. Again, we have an absentee leadership, and we need to make sure that we stay focused. We need to make sure that we stay focused so that we can go out and get our economic development programs back on track, take underutilized and undervalued assets and bring them back online. We need to make sure that our traffic code at traffic enforcement is up and running day one. It should have been months and years ago. But again, that's what happens in the absence of leadership. You have anarchy and chaos. So I pledge to bring that traffic enforcement division to the city of Dearborn and the streets and neighborhoods of Dearborn. Additionally, we need to cut the red tape in building and safety and make sure that people can get things done. We need to say, how can we help you here in the city of Dearborn? And as mayor, I will. My name's Tom Tafelski. On August 3rd, I'm asking for your vote. Please visit tomfordearborn.org to learn more about myself and my programs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Woronchak.
Thank you. There are still 3 weeks to go before the primary election, and we're probably all getting a little tired of hearing the term experience in this campaign. But here's why experience is an important factor to consider. Jack O'Reilly has served Dearborn for 30 years. That's a lot of experience leaving at the end of the year. Our city council will have at least 3 new faces next year, and that's after 2 experienced council members left 4 years ago. That means out of our 7 council members, likely 2 will have 1 term of experience and 3 will have none. And that's not to disparage the talent and hard work of the new faces who will serve on the council, but it does suggest that a long proven record of service would have value in the mayor's office. I'd like to elaborate on my own experience and what sets it apart. Experience is more than just longevity. It's the seasoning that enables one to solve problems and deal with difficult situations and to see beyond the moment. I've actually run a branch of government. As chairman of the Wayne County Commission, my job was more than setting agendas and presiding over meetings. I was responsible for an equal branch of government under the county charter. I had direct oversight of departments similar to those in our city government. The county commission has a legal department, fiscal analysts, policy staff, communications department, support staff, and the county's auditor general, all of which I oversaw as the head of the county's legislative branch. I've run newsrooms full of reporters, photographers, and others, both at weekly and daily newspapers. So I have a variety of management experience in different areas. I know government, and most importantly, I know Dearborn. I'm Gary Woronchak. I'm asking for your vote on August 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidates, we appreciate the commitment it takes to run for office, and we'd like to thank all of you for your participation. Primary election day is on August 3rd. Voters will choose 1 mayoral candidate, and the top 2 vote getters will advance to the November election. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You may register to vote if you are not already registered up through election day. The last 10 days before the election, you should definitely visit your clerk's office. And remember that anyone without specifying any reason can get an absentee ballot, but you must apply for the ballot prior to the ballot being sent to you. If you have not received it, please contact your clerk and they will make arrangements to get it to you. Thank you again for your participation in the forum, and good night. And this is now ended.